Well, howdy, physics sleuths and inquisitive souls. Welcome again to another lecture of dynamic gravity. So today, excuse me, it's Rain Bramish from the war. Today, we're going to go over supermassive black holes a little bit more. I think I've already got 2 episodes or lectures kind of going off explaining what, they are, how they operate. But about a month ago, I got some pretty good visions uh, from God, 3 of them, and this was one of them. So I'm pretty sure this is kind of what's going on in the middle of a supermassive black hole. But I want to distinguish this is probably not entirely going on in a regular black hole. The two, while very similar, are entirely different beasts. Where a regular black hole, let's say, would be like the size of a bowling ball, and a supermassive black hole would be like the size of our sun. Yeah, kind of extreme difference going on. And it may even reveal how our universe ultimately ends. I'm not sure yet. We'll find out. So, first of all, let's get started. So, this is kind of, what they think a black hole would look like, just a black whatever with, I don't know, some accretion disk going around it that's glowing. And yeah, maybe, probably, depends on the black hole. I would say it would probably only have an accretion disk like this around it if it's actively feeding, which probably wouldn't last too long. I don't think it would take too long to gobble up any stars or other smaller black holes around it. Um, so that's something, to look at. Um, and black holes, we there's a lot of information about them you can look up, But what you gotta remember, this is all this is all based upon Albert Einstein's theory of general relativity. Okay. This is where a lot of their information comes from. And whether or not you want to believe that my theory of gravity, dynamic gravity, you could argue maybe even Nikola Tesla's theory of gravity, and I'm just picking up the torch where he left off. Whatever, I don't care. It's all the same. You could argue that, okay, even though I am the only human to ever live that can perfectly calculate gravity, dark energy, and dark matter with the same equation, maybe I'm wrong. Who knows? Even though I can explain everything, the entire universe now. But to sit here and to say that Einstein isn't wrong when we know for a fact he is, we know for a fact his theory's been wrong. That's why he never got a Nobel Peace Prize for it. Because they knew from the get go it was bullshit. But his math worked out and no one had a better approach. So it just stuck around. And over this last century, it's kind of been cemented that he is gravity and his theory is undisputed, but it's not. My theory is undisputed. My theory has never lost any battle. It explains all observations. His theory barely explains anything except time dilation, which my theory does. It explains what it is. That's so much better. So know this. This is all based upon Albert Einstein's general theory of relativity, which we know for a fact is 100% not right. So a lot of this information that you're going to find here is going to be bullshit. It's just not going to be. It's just not going to work. And man, they got so much. They have derived so much information about this stuff. Um, and here they are claiming they got 2 black holes that collided, which would be impossible according to my theory if they were the same size like they say they are, which they clearly aren't. Now, if one was, say, double the size of the other one, okay, now they can collide. Now this is possible and, in fact, maybe even inevitable. But if you have 2 black holes that are the same size, they will never collide, dude. It's not going to happen. It just doesn't work that way. That's not how gravity works. And then if you don't understand that, you should read my papers that I link in my description on this video. Maybe watch some more videos. I don't have time to explain it right now, but trust me. My math is undisputed, and it tells you that. So, no hair theorem postulates stable condition at the formation of black holes. Only three independent physical conditions: mass, electric charge, and angular momentum. Yeah, they try and divvy it up and categorize it, and put it in this box or that box, and see if it, anything works. And nothing really works. Gravomagnetic field. Ooh, measured from a frame dragging. Yeah, okay. My theory does that too. Yeah. Here's a little math. What's this like? Event horizon. What's this source course equation? Source child. All sorts of different stuff, man. All sorts of different stuff. Photon sphere. All right. So this is kind of the state of black holes. They don't really have any clue what's going on inside of them. They literally are just guessing. It's not even a guesstimation because they have nothing to compare it to. At least I can tell you how the particles are going to want to behave in a black hole, okay? And it's much different than the way Einstein or any other person says they're going to behave right now, okay? For instance, one of the persons that, led black hole theory for God how many decades was Stephen Hawking, all right? And get something here for my fixation. Notice I'm not smoking cigarettes this week or e-cigarettes. Tell you the best way to quit one nasty addiction is to trade it for another. That's all. Just trade that addiction out for another addiction that's not as bad for you, that you can manage easier. You're good to go. It works every time, like a charm. Try it. Trust me. Okay. So we got like Stephen Hawking, all right? And this dude, oh my gosh, everybody just listened to whatever he had to say because he was in a wheelchair. It's like, he must be really smart because all he does is sit all day and think. Doesn't mean anything, dude. But he's got a lot of theories like extremal black holes. Hawking and other physicists hypothesized that extremal black holes could not form, but mathematicians later proved them wrong. I don't know if they're real or not, but the point is, he said mathematically it wasn't possible, and he was wrong. Chronological protection of conjecture. Hawking suggested an unknown law of physics prevents time travel, but the laws of physics we understand today, they don't prohibit it. Okay. I'm going to come to Stephen Hawking's defense. My theory clearly says there is no time travel. That's why you don't see any time travelers, dude. It's impossible. It doesn't exist. You can have extreme time dilation, where you could, from your opinion, your perspective, go into like some time dilation pod and just bloop, take a short nap and wake up like 1,000 years later. And from your perspective, it would be like time traveling into the future, but you didn't. You were there in the pod the whole time, 1,000 years. I can't go back. It's impossible. I explain what time is in one of my lectures if you're really that curious. But I'm not going to say he was wrong on this. Everybody else will say he's wrong. I'm not. Hawking radiation. Let's go over that in a second. Scientific bets. Hawking lost several bets on scientific concepts, including Cygnus X1 was not a black hole, when it was. And he said the Higgs boson would never be discovered. I'm kind of up in the air about this. You don't need the Higgs boson to explain anything with my theory, but that doesn't mean that it's not a real thing either, and that it doesn't do certain things. It's not a manifestation of energy under certain circumstances. They can do this or that. All I will say this about the Higgs boson: their evidence for claiming that they discovered a particle was the absolute weakest in human history. I mean, they'll brag about their 5 sigma. Oh, that 5 sigma. What does that look like on a graph? On a graph? Let me show you what it looks like on a graph. I saw the graph once. Oh, it was from a long time ago. Oh, yeah. Yeah, on the graph, this is what their 5 sigma looks like. Yep, there we go. That's their 5 sigma on their graph that they use to justify discovering the Higgs boson. That's what it looks like on a graph, okay? This is the weakest evidence for any particle that's ever been discovered in the history of the world, by far. Now, I'm not going to say they didn't find something. I think they did find something, but the Higgs boson, and they keep on, this is the last place they looked too, because it was the last place they thought they would find it. So they already checked all the other sweet spots they thought that the mathematics said the size it would be, and they didn't nothing. So, and then the reason why they say this for last too, they say, is because they knew there was so much other junk here, they could never properly classify it. Oh, now will they find a bunch of junk and somehow they're able to classify the Higgs boson in that? You can believe if you want. I remain unconvinced, sir. It is what it is. It be what it be. Unproven ideals. Hawking sometimes promoted unproven ideals as they were facts, which scientists found troubling. Oh my God, so many people do. Like Michio Kakuya does this all the time. And Neil deGrasse Tyson. They're the worst, man. They'll sit there and just go off on some stupid BS theory like string theory, like it is a scientific fact. Like they looked in a microscope and they can see these little things. Like it's insane, man. And people are ridiculous. They just want to be right so bad. Hawking sometimes seemed to be looking for validation as ideals rather than testing hypothesis. Yeah, that's true. That's not, but if you're right, you're right. So there's Hawking radiation. I'd say this for last because there's other things he was wrong on too. But Stephen Hawking, he came to this conclusion that, I don't know, they've never seen this. They don't think, they believe this is what happens, but this is a stupid thing. And I think this is a dumb thing to believe in, personally. All right. What Stephen Hawking is saying with this is that there are a black hole. Black hole, right? And he's saying there's little particles, right? Virtual particles that are created, like, electron, positron, spontaneous, whatever, quark, anti-quark, just spawn into existence right around the edge of the black hole. So you got two quarks, boop, that will pop up out of nowhere. And normally these would combine back into one form and dissolve away to nothing as a virtual particle does. But they're saying because half of this is just close enough to be sucked into the black hole, but the other half isn't. They're like a nanometer away. What? But anyways, and this happens all the time. And then you have this bit that gets thrown off into space, and this bit goes in here, and then you have lost information, and then the black hole will evaporate away through this process somehow. And what will happen is like you'll have a black hole, especially micro black holes, like the size of, I don't know, a pea or something, will just evaporate away so quickly, according to Stephen Hawking. You have a black hole the size of a pea just evaporate away in seconds, maybe an hour tops. And it's like, what? What the hell are you talking about? No, black holes don't go away. They only get bigger, dude. Yes, information gets lost in that black hole because it never comes out again. Or does it? I'll go into that a little bit later. So basically, I'm going to sit here and say, yo, dude, this is not a thing, okay? If this was a thing, you wouldn't have black holes. If every time a black hole formed, it would just start evaporating away super fast, and unless it was gobbling up stars and other black holes and stuff at a super fast rate to make up for it, to grow, this is insane, okay? You got every single galaxy and the whole universe, dude, has a super massive black hole in the middle of it. Like, this is Andromeda, okay? It's just an itty bitty dot in the middle of that galaxy, but it's a super massive black hole. And there's no way you would have all these supermassive black holes that just grow to these almost nearly infinite sizes and proportions if black holes were always under this Hawking radiation and just evaporating away into nothingness. It's insanity, dude. This is just fantasy and Stephen Hawking land. He's wrong in pretty much everything he ever did his whole career, bro. I mean, the guy was... he just was wrong. And he was kind of weird, too, man. Apparently he went to Epstein Island, and I don't know. And apparently, he got off watching, some Asian midgets trying to work out some physics equations on some chalkboard, and they couldn't jump up, and they had to jump up and try and do the equations, and Hawking just laughing in his chair as I don't know, he's getting a hard on, whatever. At least that's what Jeffrey Epstein said, like in an email. Who knows? But he did go to Asylum, so I believe Epstein. So, anyways, the guy is just, he's wrong, man. Don't listen to him. Listen to me. I have the math that works. I can explain everything perfectly. Don't listen to these scrubs, man, these jabronis. Just listen to me. I'll get you there, I promise. I don't know everything yet, but I'm getting there pretty damn quickly, okay? I'm getting there pretty quickly. Okay, so we've gone into all these misconceptions of black holes. Now, a regular black hole, any black hole, okay, they're pitting out gravity, okay? And according to my theory, dynamic gravity, there's kind of like two equal opposite forces there. You got the electric force, the electric field, and then you got a gravitational field, okay? And electrons emit the electric field. The gravitational field, the positive side of the electromagnetic force, is actually going to be emitted by quarks, pretty much, just quarks, protons. And they categorize it as just the same thing, but they're actually two completely different forces, my man. And I'm going to go into this a little bit. I got a lecture coming up on antimatter soon, and I'm also going to explain how my electron theory explains and deals with the infamous double slit experiment. We're going there, kids. Give it time. Give me another couple weeks. We build up the mustard. Get some more booze. Get fueled up. You know me. I like to do things slow until I don't. So, we've got a black hole, okay? And they're putting out this positive force that we call gravity, okay? And we know that because, look, every galaxy has a black hole in the center. That's not a coincidence, dude. The black hole is what's holding the entire damn thing together with gravity. So black holes are pitting out huge gravitational fields, not electric fields. Gravitational fields, okay? So, what that tells us is that we have a black hole, any black hole, big black hole, small black hole, okay? Boop, 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 perfect circle. Close enough. Leonardo da Vinci would be a little jealous. So, we've got atoms, okay? And the core of dynamic gravity, what it all comes down to, really, is there's only two things that make up the whole universe: electrons and quarks. That's it. And sometimes you'll have an electron, and it'll get eaten by a quark, or be attached to it. And now it becomes a down quark. Up quark becomes a down quark. So you got one down quark, but two other up quarks that still want a piece of this electron. Guess what that is? That is a proton. You have another electron that must be, around there too, because all this positive charge. But it doesn't want to get too close because this negative charge in the middle of the down quark is repelling it. See that? That's how the stability equilibrium of the entire atom works, and that is the basis on which all dynamic gravity is founded upon. It is. Sad but true. So, what we got? We've got our little atom. And he is just cruising along, boop, 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 and he gets sucked into the black hole. Okay? So, our protons, they are going to consolidate in the core. It has to be the core, okay? So all of the protons are going to be in the core, okay? All of the protons are going to be in the core. And the electrons are going to get ripped away from this atom, whatever it is, okay? And, if it's not hydrogen or helium, whatever, it'll probably get stuck together with the neutrons. And the neutrons will also get stuck in the core a little bit too, because they're part of it. But things are going to happen. Because what a neutron is, and this is proven by science, a neutron is just a proton that ate an electron. That's it. That's all a neutron is. A proton that ate an electron. Cancel the charge. That's all it is. So a neutron actually has 2 electrons in it. One for where the proton ate, and one where the down quark ate. 2 electrons and a neutron. Okay? Where a proton only has 1 electron inside of it. Remember that. It's going to come back, kids. We're going to pop quiz on this. So we got all of our protons and some neutrons. Boop, boop, beep, bop, bop, boop. But a lot of protons. And some neutrons. Now, these electrons are going to get ripped off, right? And they are going to go all around here. They're going to surround this core. This is how it has to be, kids. Otherwise, black holes would not be able to emit the fields the way they do. So the electrons are all in the outer part, okay? Now, I made a statement a few months back that I only tried to figure out the electron structure to see if it could be destroyed. And I came to the conclusion that it wasn't. I was wrong on that. There are 2 ways to destroy an electron. One is with antimatter, which I'm going to explain how that happens when I do my lecture on antimatter in probably a few weeks. The other is in black holes. The force is so strong that it will actually rip. Because remember what we learned, what electrons actually are is vortexes. Okay? Electrons are vortexes that are spinning this way. The spin determines which direction it's going, inward or outward, and that's how it all fits together in an orbital. I go into this if you care. It's a long lecture, but arguably one of the best I've ever done. You will learn so much. So much. So this is what an electron is. Now, the electron, when it's under enough stress, because it's got all these other electrons pushing down on it, it's going to be in a point form. So they're very strong. They're very strong when they're in a point form. The electron has 2 forms. It has its cloud traveling form, when nothing's messing with it, and then it has its point form, where it gets a lot smaller, depending on how much stuff is interacting with it. The more stuff interacts with it, the more point small it gets. Okay? So it's very strong and very hard to rip an electron apart. They're a very stable structure, actually, vortexes, when they're going that fast. But I call black holes and even neutron stars super celestials for a reason, because they break all the damn rules. Okay? This is why I call them super celestials. They break the rules. They don't care. They do what they do. And they actually rip this electron apart. And once we learned a long time ago, I think a year ago I made this revelation to you guys, that all an electron is a photon that is not spaced out in time. Okay? So if you condense a photon enough to where it starts going back in on itself, and you can forms a stable vortex, now you have an electron. Photons and electrons are the same damn thing. Electrons were not made in the Big Bang. There was no Big Bang. It was the gradual universe is how the universe began. I did a lecture on that. Look it up. Yeah, it's almost like I've thought about this shit my whole life, son. I know what I'm talking about. Funny how that works. Now, so what happens when you rip an electron apart? You now release a butt ton of energy and turn that into an open, high energy gamma ray. Okay? The highest, most strongest photon there is. Literally, it's just this far from being an electron. In fact, it wasn't an electron until you ripped it apart and made it unhappy. So it's going to be very, very powerful. One of these electrons, when they get ripped asunder, is going to release an incredible amount of energy. In fact, the highest amount of energy that can be released in a photon. It's true. So you got the outside is going to be filled up with all this electron soup, being ripped apart, being turned into gamma rays. So black holes are actually the hottest damn thing and the most violent thing in the universe. But because they're so powerful, they keep it all within themselves. It doesn't bother us. But there is nothing hotter than a black hole. It's just the outside is just a bunch of high energy electrons being ripped at path and turned into high energy gamma rays, trying to escape into space to get away from all this mess because there's so much pressure here, but they can't do it because it's made of ultimately an electric energy, a negative field. But the core is positive. Boop, boop. This is negative. And guess what? They attract. So they can't get away from each other. Can't do it. But you'll notice, if I had a positive entity, let's say on the outside of here, like a proton, boop, bop, it's going to be attracted to the negative entity. But since this is more consolidated, it's going to be much stronger. So in actuality, if you have a proton, or at least quarks, that are created or made or ripped apart, whatever, towards the surface of the black hole, it absolutely can leave. It is possible to leave because it has this, all the pressure, all the strength, the gravitational energy that's pulling everything with negative electrons in it that doesn't have an electron. Guess what? It has that much force pushing it away. Yeah. Woo! That's fast. That's super fast. That would be going way faster than the speed of light if it was possible. I explained why the speed of light is a speed limit too. Einstein couldn't do that to you. I could though. Almost like I know what I'm talking about. Okay, so we've got all of these gamma rays being created out of energy. Pure matter being turned into pure energy. Much, perfect. 100% conversion rate. Okay? Like antimatter. 100%. Not that puny, weak efficiency of fusion or fission reaction. This is very powerful. This is a lot of energy. And it's all going to be pushing downward on this core, right? So this is going to get compressed even more. And I don't believe this happens during a regular black hole, but during a supermassive galactic core black hole, it definitely, because they're so much bigger than regular black hole, remember? Like bowling balls the size of our sun. Kind of a huge difference there. So, in a supermassive black hole, this goes even one step further. Okay? Not only is it ripping apart all of these electrons on the outer soup of it, where they're finding equilibrium and stability, but remember what we said. Protons also have an electron inside of them. And neutrons have two. So there are a butt ton of electrons in here that when they get under enough pressure and stress are going to get ripped apart and turned into pure gamma rays inside your core. So your core, as it's being compressed and your black hole grows larger, your core is actually exploding eternally from inside out more and more as these electrons are ripped out of the neutrons and out of the protons and just ripped in half and just start exerting all this force internally on the core. Now, I told you once that the universe was going to eventually die by everything being eaten by a black hole. But now I'm not so sure. Now I'm beginning to wonder if eventually this internal pressure that is being created as electrons are being ripped apart and converted into pure energy, high energy gamma waves, that this might be enough to rip your black hole in half or completely radically disrupt it to where it explodes somehow. But there is a catch. If this happens, this will release so much energy from supermassive galactic black holes that it essentially becomes a white hole. Okay? Now in physics, you've got black holes and white holes. White holes are the opposite of black holes, and they're supposedly the counterpart of black holes. For a black hole is a white hole, like in another multiple universe. No, it's not how it works. It's stupid. But the concept of a white hole, where you have this point just spewing out nearly infinite matter and energy in all directions, absolutely is a valid one. Because if these supermassive black holes, if it's enough pressure, and I don't know if it is, but if it is, to actually rip this bad boy in half, it is now going to become a white hole. It is going to become a white hole spewing a bunch of black holes, a bunch of everything else. And that would definitely destroy the universe. If it didn't get eaten by the black hole, it's going to get blown up by it when it turns into a white hole. Yeah, how the universe ends. But don't shed a tear just yet for our lost souls. For there is a factor that I have not revealed to you yet going on in the black holes. A factor that not even I thought about until this vision that God gave me. Oh my goodness. The time dilation in the core of a black hole is so extreme. I didn't even bother to calculate it, but I know this. I started to calculate it, and I got to the point where like 1 second was equivalent to 1,000,000 years, and I still wasn't there. And I was like, I'm done. This is whatever. So even if this whole reaction only took a second to happen, which it definitely would not, would take a lot longer than that, it would take 1,000,000+ years and then some millions, billions of years before this event would actually occur because the time dilation is so extreme. I tell you what time dilation is, and do many different lectures if you want to go into it. It's just basically inertial drag forces from gravity affecting whatever is affected by gravity. And that's why there's some things that aren't affected by it. Okay? So, the time dilation is so extreme that even if this were to happen at a early-ish stage in the black hole's formation and growth cycle, it could easily be like 1 trillion years before this happens. And our universe is allegedly only like, I don't know, 15 billion years old. I'm telling you right now, my gradual universe theory says it's much older than that, probably close to 100 billion years. Believe who you want. You want to believe the guy that's been dead for 100 years whose math doesn't work? Or do you want to believe me, the guy who can explain everything whose math does work? The choice is yours. I don't care. So, this is the way it is, okay? I believe in 1 trillion years from now, who knows how long, when this doomsday clock starts ticking away, this is going to happen. It may not happen to all black holes, but it's definitely going to happen, I think, to the largest ones. And it is going to be catastrophic for whatever galaxy that the black hole turns into a white hole. Oh, look at this little white hole in the middle. Yeah, that's what it looks like. Everybody dies. So, this is how I believe the universe is going to end. But it's going to be a really long time, kids. Like 1 trillion years. Don't worry. This is not going to happen in our lifetime. Knock on wood. Okay? So, I think that's pretty much most everything I wanted to go over. There is one other thing. I just want to read my notes to make sure, because it was kind of a long episode. Oh yeah, a concept. This is a concept I've been toying around with. I call it other realm. And it is possible. It is possible. Like right now, we live in a world where gravity dominates, right? So black holes are spewing out gravity. We could just as easily live in a world where the negative force dominates under certain criteria and circumstances, and everything, all the laws of known physics are completely swapped and reversed, but they are still the same. I call it other realm. I'm gonna do a lecture on this. This is a really interesting concept, thought experiment. I don't know if it exists, but theoretically it's possible. It could. Something to consider. It's not a multiple universe theory, but it is a two by universe theory, by dimension, two-dimensional realm theory, I guess you could say. Okay? And also, whatever chemistry is going on in the core of a black hole, this time dilation is going to drag that out forever. And so they truly are frozen stars, man, but not in the way that classical physics wants you to think of it, where there's something falls there to freeze it. No. It's they're frozen stars in the sense that all the chemistry and reactions and fusion and fissions and everything is going apart inside of it are occurring so slow because of the time dilation, because the gravitational field is so strong that it's almost like a snapshot into time. It's almost like we could see, if we could get into a black hole, we could see events that would happen in a billionth of a second that would play out over our entire lifetime to see what's going on. Imagine how much we could learn about physics, but obviously this is a daunting task, isn't everything these days? So, okay, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. Also, it's not going to be consistent perfectly. There are going to be like little pockets and bubbles, maybe even striped regions of like, electrons and protons and quarks and whatever. It's not just all going to be here and then electrons perfectly neatly around. It's going to be finding equilibrium, which takes a lot of time, especially in a black hole. We got the time dilation, and time is a rare commodity. Something you think about? Okay, so we got two more concepts here we got to go over, okay? Two more concepts. Okay. First of all, I told you that when this process begins and these electrons start getting ripped asunder inside the protons and the neutrons inside the core of the black hole. When that happens, even though this process is going to happen very slowly over millions of years because of the time dilation, you are consolidating the positive charge, the gravitational force, rather quickly. Because you remember, and when you have a neutron, you have 2 electrons and 3 quarks. So now we're taking the 2 electrons out, and we're just left with 3 up quarks. 100% increase. I mean, literally, because it goes from a completely neutral state to a 100% increase in charge once those 2 electrons are destroyed or ripped apart. You have now increased your gravitational field emitted from the black hole by double over not that long of a lifespan. Once this thing, doubles optimally. It's not going to be double immediately, but it's going to increase drastically over a short lifespan. Is what I'm trying to get at, kids. Once this process starts kicking off, the black holes are going to actually get stronger than they should be, because the gravitational constant is going to be increasing rapidly as this process occurs. Even though the black hole is not eating anything, because it is consolidating all the positive charge in the innermost core and ripping all the negative charges into pure gamma rays and eliminating them, so they're not even a thing. Well, they are a thing, but it's a different thing. It is going to potentially up to double the strength of the black hole. Now, this means that two things. Your galaxy can get a lot larger than it was before, but it also means that the dark energy forces, the repulsive forces that black holes create, that my theory explains perfectly and calculates, thank you very much, sir, Einstein can't do that, on how the galaxies repel each other is going to come under a much extreme force, pushing away even faster and harder than before. Okay? I want you to think about this. Evidence of this could be shown if we could see that the universe was expanding at a certain rate, and then all of a sudden, over a period of so many hundreds of millions of years or whatever, it started expanding even faster. Like it started expanding much faster. But the black holes weren't growing that fast, or as fast. But it was expanding faster. That would be proof that this theory is correct and that I am right. I don't know if we'll ever get there. Never know these days. Never know. But just know this. It would have drastic consequences, my son, that will be felt and reverberated throughout the entire universe, not just our galaxy. This is a very, very powerful thing. These huge galactic core black holes, they're the most powerful things in the universe. And if they have a consciousness, my God, I can't even dream of what their consciousness, how powerful it could be, how intelligent. If, who knows, maybe it's just a stupid rock on fire. Maybe. You never know. I did a lecture explaining what consciousness is and how I believe the human soul is created. And all these things. I have explained all these things to you, my children. Look back in my catalog of all my videos that I've explained. I'm telling you, I have explained everything in this universe to you. You just don't know it yet. So, I leave you with one last thing. Okay? Now, my recent revelations, as of, 4 or 5 months ago, into what exactly neutrinos are. Neutrinos are the counterpart of electrons. We knew this somehow from the standard model, because they're both leptons, But nobody knew until me exactly what a neutrino is, how it's made, what is going on. Well, I know what a neutrino is. A neutrino is when a quark moves in the presence of an electron, which is stationary, to create that electromagnetic vortex of an electron. Only it's not the electric field that's inside of it, it's the proton's positive field. So it's exactly opposite particle. But it's not opposite in the way of antimatter. It's different. I'll explain this later, I promise. I promise. I always live with my promises, don't I? Have I ever led you astray? But because a neutrino is made of the same energy signature, of the same positive energy of the proton, which makes up the core, guess what? Remember when I told you that a proton could possibly escape a black hole under certain criteria if it's on the surface? Well, a neutrino, baby, could possibly escape from the core if it's made there, which would be very unlikely. But, you do have electrons and you have quarks there. It is possible. Yeah, all sorts of things are possible to be made in a black hole. I'm sure neutrinos are made in a black hole, but I don't think they're made as much as they are in a star, which is undergoing like triple beam fusion or whatever. Okay? But I will tell you this. They are definitely being made, and a neutrino is absolutely 100% capable of escaping a black hole, as long as it doesn't hit an electron to interact with, which is rare, but it do sometimes. So as a neutrino, let's say it's made in the core, as it's going out, it can successfully get through here, navigate through this maze of all these electrons that are being converted into gamma rays without hitting one and reacting with one, which is very possible because neutrinos go very fast and they have a small signature and I explain what they are in other lectures. You can go look at it if you care. Yes, you can have neutrinos coming out of black holes. And we can measure neutrinos. So maybe one day I will be confirmed on this. Remember, this is not really my theory so much as it is a vision that I got that I attribute to God. Maybe I'm crazy and I do too many drugs. Maybe I'm the one and you're a fool to deny me. Who knows? Time will tell. It always do. It always do. But I just want you to know this is a state where I'm at right now with supergalactic black holes. And I believe I'm pretty comprehensive with this. And I hope you enjoyed this. I will leave you with the note that I left myself when I was high as a kite, playing video games, playing World of Warcraft, getting a message from God. And I don't even know this day what I was writing because I was so stupid high and I was in a rush. It's so compressed, the protons, with no such love, dude. Okay. Adios. Bye-bye.
Like, subscribe, submit.